With each new Five Nights at Freddy's game that comes out is more lore that just complicates and convolutes everything that we knew previously. And the books have been a very fun way of just like confirming some of the things that we might think and or know. But that's not all the books are. The books are more than that. I have taken on this endeavor to read through all of the books, excluding probably the security log books and the guides, because I don't think they add anything really, for the Into the Pit game that is coming out for the 10th anniversary. But I was completely surprised, so please stick around with me as we go onto this journey exploring the Fazbear Frights series. So all these books have the structure of 3 novella-length stories, so they're each about 50-ish pages long, and they are loosely, or in some cases, heavily related to the Five Nights at Freddy's canon. So here we go. First up is Into the Pit. Into the Pit, unfortunately, is the weakest of the trio that we have for this book, but it's not to say it's bad. I really liked Oswald and his story. He was very relatable. It was very easy to sympathize with him. I really liked the dynamic with Oswald and his family, with them kind of being separated except for the like family get-together days, and both his parents can't really pay for a lot of the like outings that they used to be able to, so it's very sympathetic because he's just some kid, you know? You can't just be like, oh, well, we'll deal with it. No, he's just a kid. He doesn't understand most of the stuff that's happening around him. From his perspective, it's just negatively affecting him, and he could totally just blame the town and we'd all understand. He's just some like random tween. So Oswald is kind of poor, you know? He only really has enough money given to him by his parents to every day go to the library, have some fun there, read, go on the computers, do whatever, and then head over to Jeff's pizza place, which obviously is going to turn out to be some Five Nights at Freddy's location, which it is. And he buys a slice of pizza there and a can of soda. And he does that every day for his summer, and obviously, he doesn't want that to happen. You know, he wants to be off having fun with his friends and stuff, but unfortunately, as I'm sure a few of us can relate a bit too closely, he only has one, like, real good friend. I totally forgot his name because he is not in the story, like, at all. He is there for, like, 2 pages, and then the rest is just Oswald and his misadventures at Jeff's pizza place. But he doesn't really have that friend, so he doesn't think he's gonna have fun this summer, and he kind of goes into it with a bad mindset. He is just going through the motions at this point. He wants to go with his best friend, which has rich parents, who moved away to basically have a better life. He's jealous of that, but that's not like a plot point. It's just very obvious in the way that he conducts himself. Now then, on to the main antagonist of the story, Spring Bonnie. Spring Bonnie is a legitimate threat. He feels like he's like an unstoppable force. He easily takes out Oswald's dad and kidnaps him. And after that, he shoves around and pulls Oswald to wherever this silent, creepy creature wants to take him. The fact that Oswald like feels like he's going insane is so cool. I loved that detail. That was really nice. It made sense because like, what are you gonna do? He is so completely isolated at this point in the story due to the fact that the Spring Bonnie has completely taken over his life. He is like completely dumbfounded with what's happening. He can't even understand, which makes sense because he went through a freaking time traveling. I don't really know what the deal with the ball pit is. I don't want to talk about it really because it's not super interesting. It's just there. It's there for plot to happen, and that's about it. But relating to the ball pit, the 1985 missing children's incident. I loved it. I don't care about the lore. It's just really freaking cool to see, dude. Seeing the missing children's incident was so awesome. Best part of the story. Definitely the best part of the first story. Oh my god, it was great. The pacing, I think, was pretty good up until the end. The conflict
We're gonna be talking
gets
about
resolved, but just a bit too quickly. Oswald finally having enough waits till like super late in the night, possibly very early in the morning, to go back to Jeff's pizza place after his dad gets kidnapped. And so Spring Bonnie appears pretty much out of nowhere, somehow knowing that Oswald is there, and like starts to fight him. Oswald finally having the courage to fight back ends up killing the thing because it gets caught on the like safety ropes, safety net that was hanging over the ball pit, and the thing ends up hanging itself, which was pretty cool to think about. I think it was definitely a scary antagonist. The way it threatens Oswald's life with the way that it just tosses him around, and then we see the thing like clamp its jaw into Oswald's arm, drawing blood, and we hear the way the teeth are described with like the mascot teeth, and then like these huggy wuggy ass teeth behind that in like the inner mouth. Really cool. The way that it describes Spring Bonnie's eyes, I don't exactly remember what it said, but it was really cool. I liked the cover art, how it's shown, the weird like tear tracks of this like black ooze that was on the Spring Bonnie. That was really cool. The end where Oswald and his dad like go home, not really wanting to talk about it because his dad is kind of like questioning what happened. Oswald being happy with where he is now was really great. He's like, I think I'm just gonna live my life and appreciate what I have, because what I have is nice. I have a family, I have relative stability, my parents love me, they care about me. So overall, I have to give that story just about a 7 out of 10, maybe a low 8. It wasn't super emotional or deep, but it was fun, it was exciting. It had a slow build up that was nice. It capped off pretty well. I do think the way the villain, or antagonist rather, got defeated was a bit lacking, because like Oswald didn't really do anything. He just like struggled from the dude's grip and then freaking got away and suicide happened, you know, I don't know. But it was cool. Now then, 7 out of 10 does not hold a candle to these next 2 stories. I love these stories. It was so great, dude. To Be Beautiful is the next one. To Be Beautiful opens up with this character, Sarah. She is just not appreciative of what she has, due to the fact that she thinks she is fat and flat. That is the opening lines of the story. And it shows the mental of what Sarah thinks of herself, and it's really just, it's sad, it's endearing, and it's sympathetic. Sarah has a best friend who is the perfect counterpart to who Sarah is. She dresses up goofy. She likes who she is as a person. She's comfortable in her own skin. She knows who she is and who she wants to be, and she is that person, unabashedly so, even to the chagrin of others. Sarah has this venomous envy inside of her towards these people that she calls the Beautifuls. And the Beautifuls is just this ragtag team of girls, and they're just your average California girls. We're unforgettable. They're like basic white bitches. They look typically beautiful, and they have this fucking stupid ass white girl attitude to them. They have riches from their parents. They're just about as stereotypical as you can get. I'm gonna be real. Which is great. It is the perfect setup, because Sarah wants to be just like them. And Abby, as I said, is the perfect character. She calls Sarah out for this. She's like, no, dude, they're really stupid. They're They're probably really shallow. I mean, have you seen them? That's all they talk about. I don't really remember the points that she made, but like, you get it. And so Sarah, finally fed up with who she is, tries to dye her hair. And I've only like bleached my hair once, so I don't really know how this happened, but her hair turns green, and she's what she assumes to be like her lowest point in her life, because that's just how it is with middle schoolers. We all want to kill ourselves. And so Sarah bumps into her crush and spills some of her salad onto him, and he gets mad at her, and she storms off, and thinking that everything is going to go wrong for some reason, is drawn to not take the bus today. So we cut to Sarah walking by a junkyard where she finds Eleanor, some life-sized doll that it doesn't really explain her super well, but Sarah thinks she's really cool, so she takes her home. And Eleanor comes to life eventually, promising Sarah one wish. Sarah obviously wants to be beautiful, the name of the book. And Eleanor is very creepy. She gives her this necklace, and she cements any time that she is quote-unquote on screen, do not take off the necklace. Do not take off the necklace. No matter what, do not take off the necklace. It is very creepy. We know exactly what's going to happen with Schrodinger's necklace. And Sarah continues with her life, every day becoming quote-unquote more beautiful as she goes. So Sarah goes to school, and continuously everything that she thinks she wanted goes right. But she just becomes a terrible person and pushes away the one good friend that she had, going into this cult-like friend group that she called the Beautifuls. And they have like this weird initiation. Abby calls that out, and Sarah gets mad at her. She's like, no, I finally have what I want. Maybe you need to change as a person as well. You're some child that won't grow up. And it's so sad as Sarah downplays the one person that has been supporting her this entire time to just be who she is. She's good enough. She's fine. But Sarah doesn't believe her. She thinks of it as an attack, and so she throws Abby to the curb, and Abby goes away, losing who she once thought was her best friend. And Sarah doesn't care. She is so toxic and trash. She goes with the beautiful. She has fun with them out on a shopping spree that she knows damn well she cannot afford. She ends up getting a date with the crush that she had. Everything is like going right in her eyes. But then, of course, we all know it comes to a close when one day Sarah trips and the necklace falls off. And slowly but surely, she scares away everybody around her as she starts to become the literal junk and trash that she was on the inside, as it starts to show on the outside, as the perfect, not so subtle symbolism that is in most of these stories. And she ends up being able to get home after some help from Abby, but she goes home thinking that Eleanor's the only one who can solve her issue. And as it gets harder and harder to move and operate, she gets to Eleanor, who is in her garage. Eleanor, looming over her, starts to like change into the old Sarah. The Sarah that was dissatisfied with who she was. The Sarah that nobody would ever suspect could be hiding anything. And the new Sarah slowly starts to fade away into nothingness. She is only a pile of trash and forever will be that random junk that Eleanor made her. Capping off the story with Sarah completely fading away, feeling nothing. That was a legitimately great reveal. The severed body parts. I knew all this was going to happen. Unfortunately, I had most of these stories spoiled for me at this point just because of the fact that a lot of them are used as theory fodder in a lot of theory videos, which I do watch a decent amount. Sarah is so good of a character because she's so just unabashedly flawed and knows what she's doing is wrong to a certain level, but can't stop herself because she had that envy inside of her and wanted so desperately to be what she thought to be beautiful. A 9 out of 10. I loved it and couldn't get enough of it, which is why I read this first book so incredibly fast. But here comes the third story. This story is more than just a good story to me. This one I relate with. This one I more than sympathize with the character. I empathize with the character. Count the Ways is the perfect story. Before saying anything, it is a 10 out of 10. It is a 10 out of 10. I do not care about anyone else's opinion. I think it is a 10 out of 10, bar none. Count the Ways starts with Millie trapped inside Funtime Freddy, and I just have to say it, the pacing between switching back and forth from the current and the past is really great. It's well done, and it doesn't mess up the pacing or even the momentum of the story in any way. It simply builds upon it every single time, keeping us interested at what is going to happen to Millie at the very end, seen as this bear clearly just wants to kill her. And obviously, this bear is Funtime Freddy. Funtime Freddy is one of the many great characters in the story, but not because of any heartfelt or emotional reason. No, he is unabashedly evil. He is great in the role that he plays as the antagonist, and ultimately, he resembles more Jack Horner. How he has no depth. He's just evil than any other character I can think of. He's so good. I loved him. He's blunt. He's cynical. He's intelligent. He does not care about anything that Millie thinks. He simply thinks of her as his opportunity to finally have some fun, to finally just kill something. Because as he says, in one of my favorite parts of the book, he tells Millie, as she is pleading for her life to let her go, and he just says, no, I'm not gonna let you go. You don't want to live. You want to die, and I'm a murderer. I'm going to kill you. And it's so good. It's such an amazing dynamic. With Millie and her character coming to a close, I'll get into more of that once I finally get to the end. But it's so good. It's so good. Her and Freddy is perfect. So Millie is a tragic character. She thinks herself misunderstood to everybody around her. And so she doesn't open up until one day where she finds someone who relates to her in her quote-unquote love of death and the poems that she reads. And she legitimately, loves him. She wants to be more than just friends. But unfortunately, it all comes to a close when he's found dating some other girl. Because in his mind, they were just friends. They were just good friends. But Millie becomes jealous because of the misunderstanding that happens. He explains to her that we are just friends, and I really enjoy your company. But yes, that is my girlfriend. I'm sorry for stringing you on, and Millie couldn't take it. She, despite all of her development throughout the story, because this person was a great influence on her, she started being nicer with the grandpa that she stayed with. Who also could relate to her in the ways that she really loved her poems, quote-unquote, about death. But she was opening up. She still wasn't some extrovert. She kept to herself. But she really loved this person and was starting to become better because of her time with him. And she falls back into her habits after this. She gets deeper in and it all comes to a close on Christmas Day. But first, I really want to talk about the grandpa. The grandpa is the perfect character in this story. The grandpa he's just some silly guy who knows that Millie doesn't want to be with him. Who knows that, but he's just trying his best. He knows that she's vegan, so he's looking up new recipes. He's trying his hand at cooking, although he's not very good. He's trying to satiate this need of this teenager that is in the phase that basically every teenager goes through once again. And he knows that she's in a rough spot in life. He knows that she'll grow out of it eventually, but she needs support. He has been there before, so he knows exactly what she's going through, albeit different, because we all go through different things. He's a very wise person. He's not some asshole. He's very nice to her. He gets mad at her when she keeps him out. She keeps being just this mean person to him, despite knowing that he is trying his very best. He finally finds a way to relate with her in the ways that he knows about the authors that she reads. He understands how she feels about death and changes her perspective, because Millie opens up to him, knowing that her grandpa isn't just spouting out of his ass this time. Her grandpa is legitimately connecting with her, with things that she likes. He broadens her perspective, talking about how the reason he wrote the poem was out of love, talking about death with the lens of loving someone. But it all comes to a close on that Christmas Day, where she goes away from her family gathering despite his grandpa's better judgment, and she walks away outside due to the fact that her uncle isn't as understanding as his grandpa, and makes fun of her for being a goth and emo, who ultimately draws her away from being with her family. So we see Millie outside in the cold, and she is walking around, and she knows that she can't go back inside because she's too stubborn. So she, after getting cold, goes to her grandpa's shed where he does all of his work on whatever it may be in there, and finds Funtime Freddy. So she climbs in. And so what happens next is that we cut back to the final pages of the story, and Freddy counts her down as she finally decides that she's gonna take the guillotine option, as she tries so desperately to escape his stomach hatch. And as Freddy counts her down, we don't get to see what happens, but we know she wasn't able to escape. We know that Millie, this tragic character, was not able to escape this fate that she had set upon herself, because she couldn't open up. She was too misunderstood. She had too many people around her that simply just drew her away, due to the fact that she wasn't willing to open up after what she thought was a betrayal. And the final part is her grandpa, the man who has done nothing wrong, internally panicking as he knows something has gone wrong. He knows that she went out without a coat. She's probably going to catch a cold. The dinner is about to start for the Christmas Day festivities, and he wants to be with her and spend time with her and just give her the life that he knows that she deserves. So he ends up futilely calling her cell phone as much as he can, and ultimately it's useless. She left her phone at home, and he goes back to the family trying to salvage the Christmas day at hand, knowing that Millie can take care of herself, not aware of what has happened several hundred feet away from him. This story, even regardless outside of that, I think is an absolute 10 out of 10. I think this is the perfect story so far. But this is the perfect cap off to the book. It's so good. It's deep, it's emotional, and it really makes you feel just so bad for the character. You want Millie to have this life that her grandpa wants so desperately to give to her, but ultimately can't. He tries to sympathize with her, but she's too far in her way of thinking, and ultimately it is her fault. It is her fault, and that final clarity she has is so sad. It's so heartbreaking, as she blames herself, rightfully so, for all of these things happening to her. She knows that what she's done is wrong. She knows that she's pushed everyone away, but she can't help but only regret it and want to change, us knowing full well that that's never going to happen. So with that being said, thank you everybody so much for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe. I'm just really hoping the books continue this trend of being really good. Don't take all the theory videos and what they say about it with this just super endless convoluted amount of lore that is sprinkled in the stories. It is never the main focus of the story, at least from what I can tell. There is a legitimate story to be told with depth and with heart and emotion and soul behind it. Do not be mistaken. Please, I encourage you to read one of them at least. Just a story. Just try it out. And if you don't get that far, that's fine. At least you tried it. Just broaden your horizons. And with that being said, thank you everybody once more. And that's gonna be about it. Lots of love, and have a day.